Okay, so some of you are still coming in. I know the keynote has been a little bit delayed, but I mean the topic for today, as we heard in the introduction, is really about how low code can help us transform the way we are implementing MES projects, right? So we say a lot of times that MES implementations should not be driven exclusively by IT. And I've seen during all these years several projects running into trouble because they forgot this, and they were running an MES project just through the IT organization. But how often is production really involved in this, and how deeply, right? So frequently we see that production stakeholders are involved in the beginning, designing the solution, defining how it should look like. They are involved later, validating it even before it goes live, but they are not building it, right? Low code is coming to change this. So that is the key message that we have for today. To illustrate how this is happening, we'll start with an example. So let's meet Jeremy. Jeremy is a production engineer, process engineer, if you will. He works at a medical device company, and he has identified a process that he believes could be made more efficient. So for some reason, we don't need to go into the details, but he believes there is a certain inspection process that could be better. It involves some manual data entry into the MES, and it could be made more efficient. So he looks at this, and he believes this can be improved if you implement a simple mobile UI. Just a very simple UI. So he sits down at his desk, and this is what Jeremy comes up with. Okay, this is my handwriting. So this is what he comes up with. Very simple page. You scan your barcode of whatever you are inspecting. Then you populate those fields, name, product, quantity, and so on. And you have two big buttons. Either inspection is okay, or you have to place it on hold because you found some kind of defects, right? Well, obviously, his MES is not shipping with this out of the box, okay? So he decides to make this happen, and he will follow the standard process in his organization. So that's the story. So Jeremy contacts IT, right? So IT will come back and ask him to formulate a change request. So there's a certain form that someone will need to fill in, describing the change that he needs and what he needs it for and so on. He'll do this, and then he sends it to IT. Obviously it will be wrong, so this will have to be reworked, it will have to be changed because it's not having all the required information, there's something missing, it's not clear, whatever. It's coming back, usually, right? And then IT will send this to procurement, because probably they don't have the required people, the required resource, knowledge, and so on, so we'll need to hire someone to do this. So they will request a quote from an SI, a system integrator, or from the MES vendor to build this, okay? And then you wait. That's it. After some time, you get a quote from your vendor, okay? Obviously, this is going to get rejected. it's too expensive, it's not fitting what I requested, whatever, okay? But if all goes well, this will get approved, and we'll send out a purchase order to whoever we ask the quote for, okay? Meanwhile, Jeremy's still waiting. So there's nothing there. After some time, this will get delivered, and you will get this new page delivered in a dev environment, and Jeremy will be able to test this. Okay? Again, it will go back. They will find some bugs. They will find something that is not up to what he's expecting. And then, after all this time, this will get deployed to a productive environment. All right? And so, by now, Jeremy is thinking, how hard can it be? Can I do this myself? I mean, is there a better way to do this? Okay. So let's get to work. So we're going to do this live. Okay. So that's the challenge. So we're going to try to build this and satisfy Jeremy's requirements. Okay. So I'm Jeremy for now. Okay. So we're going to do this. And we're jumping into our MES. By the way, we are using critical manufacturing MES. This is what you see here. I'm sharing my screen. I have a mobile device here. I have a barcode that I can scan, so hopefully I didn't miss anything for the demo. And we'll start by going here into low-code, and we're going to create what we call a UI page, which is basically a low-code way to build UIs. Okay, I'm going to zoom this a bit so that you can see this better. Okay. So I'm creating a new one. I need a change set. This is a change controls object, so this needs to go through an approval process and so on. So that's why that's needed. I'm going to name this. So I'm going to call this Summit Demo, something like this. I don't need any of this. What I do need is to select the layout. So let's say that this is targeting a phone. Okay. And not desktop. You can have multiple layouts, but we're just targeting the phone. And I'm creating this. Okay. So this is what I have. Collapsing this so that we have a bit more screen. So now we're going to start building a layout. If you remember, this is a very simple. So it has some text on top, then some details of what you just scanned, and 2 buttons. That's it. All right. So that's what you're going to build. So we're coming here. And we're dragging the text widget and putting it there. And then we just need to go to properties and say in the setup what I need to appear there. So something like, please scan your barcode. Okay? So that's the only thing I need to do. Actually, I'm going to do something else, which is remove this header, which is not needed for now. Okay, so that's a bit cleaner. Okay. Then I need the details. So I'm scrolling down. So there's a bunch of components and widgets that are pre-built here. So I'm going to drag the entity details, which does what I need it to do. And here I go into settings again. I'm going to change the name to material details, because that's what I need to do. As far as style, I don't think I need to change anything. Okay, I don't need the entity icons, and I know that this is going to show me the details of a material. So in our MES, a material is something that's running on the production line. Okay, so that's what we need to scan. So I know that this is going to show the details for a material. I don't know which one, so this will get filled in by the barcode. And then the properties, I need to set up the properties that I need to show. So I will set up the name. So this is the display name, and this is the actual object property that I need. So this is name. I'm going to call this part number so that it's different from the products. We call this a product in our MES, but let's call part number. So this will be the product. Let's call this operation. I'm just using different names so that you know that we can have display names. So the step is the operation in the flow that we are currently at. And then let's just show the quantity, for example. And for us, this is the primary quantity property. Okay. Okay, and that should be it. This is still empty because it's not filled with anything so far. And now I need 2 buttons. So I scroll up and I drag 1 button. So this will be my OK button. Let's call it like this. I'm going to make it white font and some green background. Something like this. Okay, and I also need a label saying inspection. Okay. I'm not being too picky about this, but this is what you can do. And then the other button is similar, and this will be the whole button. Again, I'm going to choose white fonts and brownish background. Okay, and the setup is going to just say hold. Well, this is the display text that I want. Right? So there's my layout. That's it. Okay? So we can now go into behavior and start connecting these components. And for that, we go into this links area. And the first thing that we need is a data source. So everything starts with a barcode that I'm going to read. Okay? So I'm just dragging this barcode widget. And you will see this throughout the whole presentation. So you have input and output properties. In this case, the output property that I am interested in is this scanned value. Okay, that's what I need. So then, what I do need is a kind of a variable, so a property of this page, which will hold the material that I have just scanned. Okay? So I'm going to do this, and to do that, I need to go into the page settings, to the properties, and these are my kind of global variables, if you will, and I'm going to add the material. Okay, so this will be a reference to an entity. I mean, there are a lot of options here of type material. Okay, so this is what we need. And we know that this is starting empty, so we're going to mark this as a new instance. You will see later, I'm going to do this now because it's more convenient, but you will see later that I will also need the workstation that I'm currently at, because I need to process this in the MES and tell it that I'm processing this at a specific workstation. Okay, so for simplicity, I'm going to do this hard-coded. So I'm going to reference an entity type, in this case of type resource, and I'm going to hard-code this for now. Okay, so I know this should be an inspection resource, so let's select number 3. And what this means is that for now, just for the demo purposes, this page will only work for this workstation. In a real world, this would not be like this, of course, right? And that's all we need. So now we close this, and if I drag this page widget here, you will see that my material and the workstation, they are available as properties here, and I can connect to them. Okay? So now something interesting happens, because I get the scanned value, which is just a string. It's the name of whatever I'm trying to process. And I will need to connect this to a property, which is an object. Obviously, this doesn't work. Okay? So you connect this, and what happens is that the system asks you, how do I convert this? Okay, so this is not fitting, the data types are not fitting, so how do I convert this? Well, actually what we're going to do is just one very simple thing. So we take that string and we set it as the name property of that material object. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So there is a converter here called setProperty, and I need to set the name property. Okay, and so this is now connected. So what I have just done, I scan a barcode, the string comes here and will fill in the name property of this material object, right? Are you with me so far? Yes? Good. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is get these material details widgets. These widgets are the same ones that have the visual representation here, okay? So this is a different view that allows you to connect the behavior. So I have a material here, and so the only thing I need to do is connect this property to this widget. That's it, okay? So if all goes well, I will save this, and this should be at least doing something, right? So let's see if we can show this. So I will navigate here to the page that I just created. I'm sorry that you can't see where I'm clicking. Submit demo, there. And there's our page. Okay? So I'll scan the barcode. Okay? And you get the name. So far this is okay. The only problem is that you don't see anything else. No wonder, right? So we only got the name from the barcode, so we don't see anything else. So what we can do is come here to this connection and add a new converter. Oops, that's not what I want. Add a new converter. And I will modify what is passed on to the next widget, and I will load the object from the database. Okay, so I have a converter here that loads this object by name. So if you remember, I got the string, I set the name property, and then I can load this from the database. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. So I need one level deep of the dependencies because I need the part number and the step. Okay, so I set 1. And now I'll save this again. And if we go back to our mobile device, I'll need to refresh this. I will try again. Now you get everything. Okay, because it's now being loaded from the database. Okay, good, so we're almost there. We just need to wire up these 2 buttons. Okay, that's the hard part. Okay, it's not that hard as you will see. So the first thing that we can do is start with the OK button. Let's put it here and collapse this one because we don't have a lot of space on the screen. Okay, and zooming back in so you can see. And we will set up this button. Now, what usually happens in the MES is that at a certain operation, you need to do what we call a track in, so starting the process, and track out, so completing the process, right? I don't care about this here. So what I just need is, okay, the inspection is fine. So start, complete, do whatever you need to do, because I just want to click one button, okay? So one of the ways that we can do this is by using what we call the business workflows. So this is a low-code way to implement some simple business logic. I have created this in advance, but I can show you what it looks like. I mean, it's really simple. So it's a standalone workflow. It does 2 things. Dispatch and track in, so it starts the process of a certain input material to a certain resource, and it tracks out and moves it to the next step. That's it, okay? So you can notice that this is kind of block-based programming. This is based on Blockly. I don't know if any of you are aware of this. Blockly is used to teach 5 or 6-year-old kids how to program, right? So you cannot go wrong. So this is what it looks like. And what I'm telling the system is, whenever I click that OK button, I want this to execute, all right? And then I will refresh the page on success. So if everything is fine, I click the button, I run that logic, and then I refresh, okay? And that's it. So it was not that hard. Obviously, I need inputs, so I need to know which material and in which resource. So those are the inputs that are here, and I will wire them up again, just like I did last time. So I will ensure that my material is loaded. So I'll just load it from the database. Okay. I don't need any dependencies here. And the resource is the workstation that we declared before. All right. So this is why I needed this variable, because I need it as an input for this workflow. Okay. So OK button is done. So now we go to the hold one. And for the hold button, we're going to do something a little bit different. For the hold button, we're taking advantage of a built-in MES transaction, right? So you can already do a hold in MES. That's fine. So I don't need anything else. So if I click hold, I want a standard hold screen to come up. Okay, so for now, this is fine. So what I need to do is come here, and this is going to be a system action. And there is a big list of available actions here, but I want material.hold. And I want this to be refreshed on success. Okay? Done. That's all I need. And now I need to wire up the material as well. Okay? And just for the sake of completeness, I'm going to load this from my database as well, just to ensure that I get everything. So now, this looks a bit like spaghetti, but this should be working. Okay? So I'm going to save this, and if the demo gods are with me, I will come here to the device, refresh this, just to ensure that I got the latest changes. And now I scan the barcode. I get the details. Okay, I'm going to click hold, just because if I click inspection, okay, this is gone. Right? So I'm going to click hold, and the standard MES screen will come up if the network doesn't trick me. Yeah, there we go. So we can select the hold reason, so whatever happened with this material, and you can proceed and put it on hold, right? So you found a defect, you select Y, put it on hold, okay? So I'm canceling this because I don't want to put it on hold as well. What I want to do is say, okay, my inspection is done, okay? So remember that I'm at the inspection step. So if I click inspection OK, and if this isn't too slow, so this gets refreshed, okay? And now I scan this again, and you will see that I am at the next operation, right? So I mean, this is working. Good. So I don't know how long we took, 10 minutes or something, but we were able to build it, right? Very simple use case, but it took me 10 minutes, right? So by now, Jeremy is happy. Right? I mean, the question now is, what are really the benefits and what are really the options that I get with low-code? What can I do? I mean, I've shown a lot of things, a lot of examples, but what can I actually do with this? There is a very wide spectrum of possibilities for low-code. It can start with very simple things, like configuring a process, I mean, setting up your route, setting up some basic conditions and some basic business rules. I mean, it's arguable whether this is low-code or not, but it's still some business logic. And as we go right in this diagram, you will see that the complexity increases, okay? So the next step is some workflows that allow you to automate some processes, design some approval workflows, and some more complex business rules. So we've just seen an example, a very simple workflow, but this can get a lot more complicated as I will show you. We can also build UIs. So this is very useful to build some process-specific UIs, as we have just done, right? And we can even build integrations. So integrations with IoT sensors, with equipment, with third-party systems like ERP, for example. Right? I mean, there's a reason why most middlewares have some type of low-code approach. You are just mapping data, right? Of course, this is a more complex use case. I'm not expecting a process engineer to build me an ERP integration, okay? So some examples of this. Starting with the basic ones, some very simple business rules. So I'm selecting an inspection step in my flow, and I'm saying that this is not applicable, this is only applicable if the product maturity is class 1 or 2. Right? If it's a more mature product, I don't need that inspection. It's fine, I can skip it. Okay? So I don't need to write any code, so anyone can write these simple expressions. This is based on JSONata, by the way. If you don't know the library, it's cool. Workflows. This is similar to what we have shown during our Jeremy demo. In this case, it has 3 steps. So tracking in, tracking out, and moving next. You can do if statements, you can do loops, you can do, I mean, a lot of stuff, right? UIs. These are some examples for desktop UIs. We've built a simple mobile one. I mean, it was on purpose because it's simple, and we could do it live. But we can do some quite complex stuff. This is an operator cockpit with some work instructions, production order information, and so on. You can build, in this case, this is an inspection station as well. They have dedicated buttons for specific defects that you can find. By the way, these are real examples, okay? Not identifiable, I hope, but they are really real examples. You can build some dashboards. So this is a very simple countdown timers for exposure times. In this case, I believe this is SMT, so that should be solder paste. And then we go to integration. So this is a fancy one, okay? I'm not sure if João Roque is in the room, so I stole this from him. This is from a blog post that we posted recently. Basically, what we are doing here is a full integration with a 3D printer, right? So whenever we do a tracking on the MES, we click the button. It will send a command to the printer, select the right recipe, start the job, And then you have this cycle where every 30 seconds you will check if the job has been completed successfully, and if it has, you send this back to the MES, you complete the transaction, complete the operation, and you basically have a full integration with the 3D printer, right? Again, using blocks, just blocks, okay? The beauty of this is that you can extend these things. You can write your own custom blocks if you want to write code. So if you want to build some more complex stuff, you can extend this, right? But it's very useful for someone that does not have the right technical experience. Right, so this is mostly a catalog of the type of things that you can do, with some examples from critical manufacturing MES, but you can use a lot of other different tools. But how do you actually take advantage of this in your MES projects? So let's assume a scenario where you are deploying an MES to a multi-site organization, and you're going to start with a deployment phase for an initial plant, and then you are scaling this to multiple plants and driving up your MES adoption across the company. And finally, you get to this evolution phase where the adoption is already quite high, but then you get into use cases just like we've seen with Jeremy. So can I improve this? Can I make this better? So this is the story, and we're going to walk you through each of these phases and what are the advantages and pitfalls of using low-code. So we start with deployments. And here,
they're running late, so
the biggest advantage is acceleration. Right? So this is mostly leveraged by whoever is deploying the MES and delivering this initial implementation. Yeah. And this will allow you to do stuff faster. Right? Obviously, if you can do it faster, you get feedback faster as well, which is good. Right? And that is the main benefit that we have at this point. From our experience, we are not seeing end users contributing at this point. It's too early in the game. Okay? Challenges. I mean, we can't be clicking around and building stuff without a proper process to package this and to deliver this to the customer. Okay? So we need a way to deploy this in a structured way, and what we actually do is package all of this in exactly the same way as we package everything else that we do. Okay, there is one single installation package. It will include everything that we write in terms of code and everything that we do in terms of low code. And then we have the dreaded productive prototypes. I mean, we've all done this, right? We build something quickly, we show this to someone. Yes, it looks good. Well, let's put it in production, right? So we've all done this, and this is dangerous, of course, right? So this is not an excuse to go over good software engineering practices, at least in this stage, right? So this is a challenge that needs to be managed, because if you are doing quick prototypes and providing quick deliveries to your customer, they will obviously want to put this in production as quickly as they can, and this still needs to go through testing phases and validation and so on. Now we go to the rollout stage.
It's pretty warm in here.
And here we need to understand that if you have a multi-site plant, you probably are going to have a template that you want to share across the different sites. Okay, and these templates, this looks very nice on paper, but then you do your first site, and then you go to your second site, and they will say, no, that doesn't apply to me. I work differently, right? And then you have a challenge, because you have a baseline, a template that you want to apply to all sites, and you have your site saying, no, I'm different. No, I don't care. So low-code can help you here, because it can allow you to quickly and easily modify what you are delivering as part of the template to adapt to the needs of the individual sites. Okay. Again, this doesn't come for free, because otherwise, I mean, if you are doing this, you are compromising the concept of a baseline. Okay. So proper configuration management is essential. So you need to version these things. You need to ensure that you manage the dependency. So whatever you changed from your baseline template, this will be compatible with that template version. If you do something different, then this won't work. Okay. So within critical manufacturing, what we've done is basically create a deployment framework which acts like a package manager with a very similar logic to NPM, for example. You declare your dependencies, and then it will install the dependencies that it needs, depending on what you have declared in your site package. Okay? And then we get to the latest stage, this evolution stage. And here is where you actually start getting the benefits for the end user. So this is when you actually start to get the autonomy from your end users to actually drive innovation. Okay? And this is where the Jeremy scenario fits, right? So you get end users starting to build stuff, you get shorter time to value, as we have seen, but again, not without its challenges. The first challenge is obviously, how do you scale this and how do you train your people to take advantage of these tools? Right? So we are no longer constrained to a small team of IT or MES vendor or SI that are delivering your MES. You have your whole production engineers and production workforce possibly wanting to do stuff. So you need training. But then comes the other parts. Remember that Jeremy worked in medical devices. I mean, we cannot ever, 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 in medical devices, start building stuff and putting it in production without going through a validation process. It's a regulated industry. You cannot do that. So testing, compliance then becomes a challenge. How do you do this? Security as well. We mentioned integration. So if you are integrating with sensors, if you are integrating with third-party systems, you can be consuming unsafe APIs. You can be sending information to God knows where, right? So if you put these tools in the hands of the general population, if you will, this can be dangerous in terms of cybersecurity, right? So these are all risks that you need to manage, and there is no good way to do this. And to illustrate how or why, found a study from KPMG from 2023. It's a bit more than a year old, but still the information is valuable. What they're saying is that only 28% of the companies that they surveyed have guidelines and processes in place for managing low-code development. I mean, everyone else is either missing guidelines or missing some governance process or missing both. Okay? And there's no wonder why this is tricky. On the one hand, you need these things to make your business more effective and to get all the benefits from low-code. And to do that, you need to enable more people to build these things and to use these tools. But on the other hand, you need some level of control, right? So we have the two extremes. On the one hand, you have a bit of chaos, if you will, with everyone building stuff. And on the other end, you have a complete blocking of low-code tools. I mean, we've seen this. This is dangerous, no one can use it. And it's forbidden, right? I mean, if you cannot use this, then you also don't get the benefits. So somewhere in the middle, we need to find the sweet spot, and this needs to be adapted to each individual organization, okay? So key takeaways from this. First of all, try to develop an understanding of the tools that you have available. I mean, I have demoed what we have in critical manufacturing MES, or at least part of it. There are a lot more things around. Power apps, OutSystems, I mean, a lot of other tools available, right? So try to understand what you have in your organization and what you can do with this. Then provide training. So go to your end users and train them to use this. Ensure that they can use the tools properly and they know the capabilities and they can take advantage of this. And then finally, implement some governance processes, because otherwise this will be chaos. Okay? So that is pretty much the summary for this whole presentation. Just one bonus topic. I mean, we talked about low code, and the whole purpose of this is to enable non-technical people to develop stuff or to create stuff. I mean, is low code going to be superseded or made obsolete by AI? right? At some level, this is the same thing. So I can go to ChatGPT and ask it, build me a web page with 2 buttons that I can scan a barcode and so on, and will spit out something for me, right? So this can happen. So is this going to make low code obsolete, and everything I just talked about doesn't matter anymore, right? And just to give you an example, this is a loop, so let's let it go back to the beginning. But what we're actually doing here is scanning a handwritten mock-up of a user interface. It's detecting what is there, and this has now created a user interface for me, right? It has an AR widget, it's recognizing some barcodes, and it's working. And it just did this by recognizing a handwritten mock-up, just like I've shown in the beginning of the presentation, right? So I leave this question for you. I'm not sure if you have submitted your questions or not, but I leave this question for you. Is low code going to be superseded by AI? Okay? And that's all I have. Thank you very much.